In the heart of Lagos, where dreams rise with the sunrise and fall with the evening traffic, lived a young woman named Gabrielle. She was 26, beautiful in a quiet way, the kind of beauty that didn't scream for attention but demanded respect. Gentle, reserved, yet bold when truth called her name. Gabrielle had just secured a job at Blue Line Shipping and Logistics Limited in Apapa Wharf. To her, it was a dream, a new beginning after years of struggle. But she had no idea that behind the polished office glass, danger waited in a smile. Her boss, Mr. Adewale, the operations manager, was a man everyone feared. Charismatic, intelligent, but dangerous behind closed doors. At first, he welcomed Gabrielle warmly, showering her with praise. But soon, his compliments became invitations. His invitations became pressure. And when she refused him, his kindness turned to cruelty. Mr. Adewale yelled at her at every giving opportunity, tried to sabotage her every deeds, report her to the management staff of rudeness and bad behavior, stresses her whenever the opportunity presents itself. That became her daily routine: humiliation, mockery, and whispers from colleagues who now saw her as the stubborn girl who thought she was too holy. Others tagged her a hypocrite, rolling with men outside work environment but acting all holy in the office. One by one, he turned people against her. She cried in the office restroom, but even in her pain, Gabrielle stood tall. She worked harder. She smiled, though her heart trembled. And somewhere in that storm, someone noticed. Melvin. "Hey, you're Gabrielle, right? I saw what happened in the boardroom. Don't let it get to you, okay?" Gabrielle forced a smile and said, "I'm trying. Thank you, sir." Melvin chuckled. "Ah, please don't call me sir. Melvin is fine. I'm the cargo superintendent. I know Mr. Adewale. He's difficult sometimes." "That's one way to put it," she said. "I've seen how you handle yourself. You're strong. Not everyone could do that. Keep it up." Gabrielle smiled and thanked him. That was their first real conversation. Simple, short, but it felt like oxygen to a drowning soul. From that day, Melvin would check on her. Not too often, not too close, just enough to remind her that kindness still existed in that building. He'd bring her lunch when she skipped hers, defend her quietly when the boss raised his voice, and sometimes just share small talks about Lagos traffic, church, or even work. And Gabrielle began to smile again. Melvin was a man known for his calmness, his discipline, and his humility. Everyone respected him, especially Gabrielle. She told her mother about him one evening after work, said he was humble, so kind. The mom was so thankful that her daughter could find a person like that, in Lagos where good people are rare. Her mom encouraged her to appreciate him well. She slept well that night. For the first time in months, her heart was light. She didn't know that kindness was the seed of something deeper, something neither she nor Melvin planned for, but both would be powerless to stop. That was how it began, with pain and comfort, and two hearts that should never have met, finding shelter in each other. The days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and somehow Gabrielle and Melvin found themselves woven into each other's routines, not by plan, but by care. What started as occasional check-ins turned into long lunchtime conversations. What began as small gestures grew into quiet dependence. Sometimes Gabrielle would bring him lunch, rice and stew one day, plantain and beans another. She would laugh as she handed the food over, saying, "You complain about the canteen food too much, Melvin. Here, got you homemade food." Melvin smiled and said, "If you keep feeding me like this, I'll stop going home to eat." Gabrielle laughed softly. "Please, don't let your wife hear that." "She wouldn't mind. She says I never eat enough anyway," said Melvin. They laughed. Innocent laughter. But underneath those laughs Something gentle was growing, something neither of them wanted to name. Melvin began to notice little things about her. The way she tapped her pen when she was deep in thought, how she loved fruits more than actual meals, and how she could turn an awkward silence into a moment of calm. So, every morning on his way to work, Melvin started buying her fruit. Apples, oranges, banana, pineapple, and grapes. Other times he got yogurt, barbecue fish, or a nice meal from a standard eatery. Their friendship became a rhythm the whole office noticed. Melvin was always around to assist her, fixing reports, helping her balance cargo manifests, making sure she left the office safely. When she worked late, he stayed too. When she looked tired, he found ways to make her laugh. And in return, Gabrielle gave him peace, the kind of peace he didn't even realize he was missing. But peace rarely survives gossip. People started to notice the long stares, the small smiles, the little kindnesses. And no one noticed more than Mr. Adewale. At first, he pretended not to care. But when he saw that Gabrielle was no longer miserable, that she smiled again, that she had found strength, his anger returned like fire to dry leaves. "So, Gabrielle, you and Melvin are suddenly close now, eh?" "We work together, sir. He's been assisting with the cargo reports." "Be careful, Gabrielle. You don't want people to misunderstand your friendship." Gabrielle quietly, but firm, said, "There's nothing to misunderstand, sir." He laughs coldly. "We'll see," he said. From that day, Mr. Adewale's hostility spread like smoke. He began to question Melvin's work too, calling him out during meetings, finding faults in simple reports. He even tried to turn other senior colleagues against him, whispering that Melvin had lost focus because of a woman. But Melvin didn't back down. Whenever Gabrielle was blamed unfairly, he defended her openly, firm, professional, but fearless. Gabrielle realized something. Melvin wasn't just being kind, he was protecting her. Not for favors, not for recognition, but because he genuinely cared. It shook her. No man had ever defended her so openly. And that night, as she lay in bed listening to the rain against her window, she couldn't stop thinking about his voice, his calmness, and the way he'd looked at her in a meeting held to discredit her. He looked at her, not with pity, but respect, defended her when others were trying to put her down. He couldn't bear to sit on the table. He left the meeting. In a city like Lagos, where kindness often hides behind motive, Gabrielle found a rare kind of friendship, and in that friendship, her heart began to open, quietly, innocently, dangerously. She told her mother about him again one Sunday evening. "Mummy, that man I told you about, Melvin, he's been a blessing. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if he wasn't in that office." "Then thank God for sending him your way. But my daughter, remember every man comes with his story. Don't read the wrong chapter. I would like to talk to him and thank him for all he's doing for you when next you see him." "Okay, Ma," she said softly. She told herself she knew all what her mommy cautioned her against, but her heart didn't listen, because by then, her world already felt brighter when Melvin was near, and his calmer when she smiled. They both sensed the edge they were walking on, but neither was ready to step back. In Lagos, even love wears a disguise. And for Gabrielle and Melvin, that disguise was friendship. But soon, friendship would no longer be enough. There's a kind of closeness that begins as friendship, harmless, honest, and comforting. But with time, it starts to ask for more. More time, more warmth, more presence. That was where Gabrielle and Melvin found themselves. Their bond had become something neither of them could explain or hide. And in Lagos, where people talk more than they breathe, every glance between them became a whisper. "You've been quiet all morning. Everything okay?" Melvin said. "I'm fine, just tired. You know how the office feels lately. Everyone watches, waiting for me to slip," she said. "Let them watch. You've got nothing to hide," he said. "Maybe you shouldn't defend me so much, Melvin. They'll start dragging you into this mess." "Too late for that. I'm already in it with you." She looks at him, unsure how to respond. That was how it began. Not with a declaration, not with a kiss, but with an understanding. Two hearts tired of pretending not to care. They began spending more time together outside the office, lunch breaks that stretched into evenings, and weekends that started with just errands. Sometimes he'd drive her home after late shifts. They'd sit in the car, neither wanting to leave first. Gabrielle, quietly, "You have a good heart, Melvin. Your wife is lucky." Melvin, after a long pause, said, Thanks." That sentence hung in the air like a confession neither planned. Gabrielle looked away, her chest tightening. She wasn't supposed to feel anything, yet she did. From that night, something changed. Every conversation became heavier, every silence louder. One Saturday afternoon, Melvin stopped by her neighborhood to drop off some items he'd gotten for her. He found her cooking, hair tied back, apron on, music playing softly from a small speaker. She looked peaceful. Melvin said in a playful tone, "Ah, so you do cook outside office hours too." "Of course, even soldiers eat, Melvin. Come in. Smells good." "Taste it and see before you start praising me." Melvin, If you ever open a restaurant, I'll be your first customer. You will be the best one, 'cause I know you will tay well." They laugh, then silence falls again, the comfortable kind. "Gabrielle, you've changed me, you know," Melvin said. "Gabrielle, how?" "I don't rush through my days anymore. I notice things. You, the little things." She looks at him, trying not to let her heart betray her face. "Don't say things like that, Melvin. You'll make me think too much." "Maybe some thoughts are worth having," he said. They both knew where this was heading. Every stolen glance, every shared meal, every lingering goodbye. It was all leading somewhere they weren't ready to admit. And yet, neither of them stopped it. Days passed, then weeks, until one evening, after another long day of tension at work, Gabrielle broke down in tears. Mr. Adewale had humiliated her again, shouting at her in front of junior staff, accusing her of incompetence. She had held her tears until everyone left. Only Melvin stayed behind. "Hey, look at me. Don't let him get to you. You've done nothing wrong." "I'm tired, Melvin. Every day it's something new. Maybe I should just quit." "No, don't let him win. You're stronger than this." He moves closer, hands her a tissue. Silence. "Why do you care so much?" asked Gabrielle. He hesitates. "Because I can't help it," he said. "Melvin, don't." She stops as he steps closer. Their eyes meet, breath mingles, silence stretches. That moment lasted forever. Too long for friends, too short for lovers. When their lips finally met, it wasn't passion that led them there. It was pain. Pain that found comfort in the wrong arms. That night, they crossed a line neither of them could ever uncross. The world outside kept moving, but inside that small office, time stood still. And when morning came, they couldn't look each other in the eye. Not out of regret, but fear. They both knew the truth now. This wasn't just friendship anymore. It was love. The kind that heals and destroys. Time has a way of revealing the truth we try to hide from ourselves. And for Gabrielle and Melvin, 3 years was long enough for the truth to grow roots. Their bond was no longer something they could casually explain. It wasn't friendship anymore. It wasn't appreciation or gratitude. It was a quiet love, the kind that thrives in stolen moments, the kind that survives in whispers and unspoken promises. But the weight of it began to show. Then the cracks begin to surface. It started small. The way Gabrielle's smile sometimes slipped when Melvin's phone rang and it was his family. The way her voice trembled when she said goodbye at the end of the day. The way he lingered too long at her door, hoping she would ask him to stay, and hating himself for wishing she would. Their laughter became shorter. Their silences became longer. And the world around them, the office gossip, the silent judgment, the tension, tightened its grip. Mr. Adewale kept his distance, but his hatred didn't die. It only changed shape. He watched Melvin with calculating eyes, noticed the way Melvin always stepped in to defend her, the way he quietly shielded her from workplace politics, the way she smiled at him differently. He reported what he could, suggested what he couldn't prove, and whenever HR called Gabrielle again, the questions were always twisted around Melvin. But Melvin never complained, never blamed her. He only became more protective. Gabby, anything you need, any problem, tell me. I don't want you suffering alone, he would say, voice soft but firm. And she believed him, because he meant it. The unspoken war inside Gabrielle. On the outside, Gabrielle looked fine, calm, composed, beautiful in the soft, gentle way only inner strength can create. But inside, she was drowning. She prayed more often. She cried in silence. She laughed only when he was around. The guilt became a companion, sitting beside her when she tried to read her Bible, standing behind her when she passed by married couples, whispering accusations when she laid in bed at night. She wanted to leave. She wanted to break free. She wanted to reclaim the parts of her soul she felt she was losing. But then she would see Melvin walking into the office, tall, warm, smiling at her like she was light in human form, and every decision she thought she had made crumbled at her feet. How do you walk away from the person who saved you the year the world tried to break you? How do you erase the only arms that held you when life felt unbearable? How do you let go of someone who made you believe in softness again? She didn't know, and so she stayed. When love becomes too real. Melvin was changing too. He had always been gentle, calm, but now he was restless. Sometimes he would hold her hands and look at her with a pain she didn't fully understand. Gabby, maybe this is meant to be. Maybe God put you in my life for a reason bigger than we know. But Melvin, you're married, she would whisper, her eyes shining with tears she refused to shed. I know, he would answer, voice breaking. I know. And I try to fight it. I do. But Gabby, I love you. I love you more than I expected to, more than I planned to. And each time he said it, her heart swelled and broke all at the same time. The idea came up more frequently now. Marry me, Gabby. Just be with me. I'll keep the world separate. No one has to know. I can take care of both homes. It wasn't arrogance. It wasn't selfishness. It was desperation. The plea of a man who found love when he was no longer supposed to. But Gabrielle's response never changed. I wish it was that easy, Melvin. I wish love didn't hurt like this. But I won't let another woman suffer because of me. I can't build my happiness on someone else's pain. He would look away, jaw clenched, eyes moist, because he knew she was right, and he hated that she was right. Their relationship became a cycle. Love in the daylight, guilt in the night, warmth when he was near, emptiness when he left. They kept trying to stop. They kept trying to break the bond, but each attempt only tied them closer. He was her comfort. She was his peace. And yet, Every day it became clearer that this love, this beautiful, fragile love, was something neither of them could carry forever. It was too heavy, too complicated, too painful. They were holding on to each other with shaking hands, hoping that love would be enough, even as the world around them and the world within them began to pull them apart. This was the beginning of the end, not because they wanted it, but because life has a way of forcing choices on hearts that refuse to choose. Sometimes the beginning of the end comes quietly, not with a storm, not with shouting, but with a tired heart finally searching for peace. For Gabrielle, that moment came the year everything changed. By the time a new year arrived, Gabby had made a secret promise to herself. At the slightest misunderstanding, at the tiniest argument, I will leave. She needed an escape hatch, a way out of a love she knew would never give her a future. So, she waited. And misunderstandings tame. Petite quarrels, miscommunications, moments when emotions flared. She tried to use them to leave, to break free. But something unexpected kept happening. They fixed it. Every time. And each reconciliation pulled them deeper into each other, stronger, softer, more in love than before. What she hoped would break the bond only tightened it. What she hoped would push them apart only wrapped their hearts together again. Finally, Gabby tried something different. She told Melvin she needed space, that she wanted to pray, to seek God's clarity, to understand what direction her life should take. He understood, or at least he tried to. "Take all the time you need, Gabby," he said gently. "I'll wait." And he did. For 2 weeks, she prayed. She cried in secret. She asked God the hard questions. She begged for strength. And when those 2 weeks ended, she tried to keep her distance. But her treacherous heart, the heart that betrayed her resolve every time, could not stay away. She drifted back to his arms, he drifted back to her, and everything went back to normal. The love, the laughter, and the guilt that shadowed her joy. But 5 months into the year, something happened. They met at their usual spot, a quiet, familiar place where they had shared countless conversations, countless moments, countless pieces of themselves. But that day, Melvin said something thoughtless, something sharp, something careless. It sliced into her in a way she didn't expect. It belittled her, it irritated her, it made her feel small in the one place she thought she was precious. The shock was instant, the hurt was deep. She asked herself, did that just came from someone who lifted me above everyone and everything? Did Melvin just say this? She stood still, unable to say a word, and then walked away, tears burning behind her eyes. Melvin panicked, called, sent messages, apologized over and over. "I didn't mean it, Gabby. Please listen to me. I didn't mean it." But nothing he said touched the wound. Something had shifted inside her. She knew he loved her. She wanted to forgive him. Her heart longed to, but her spirit refused. He had never seen her that angry, never seen her that withdrawn, never seen the fire behind the gentleness. And she knew it too. So, at the end of work, she made her decision. She would let go. That evening, she called him, still hurting, still confused, but wanting to offer peace. "You're working overnight. Can I prepare something for you to eat?" It was her way of extending a hand, a trembling olive branch.
But Melvin's reply struck her harder than anything else he had ever said. "No, Gabby, I can't. I'm scared of eating from you in your anger. I don't know what you might do to me." It felt like someone poured ice water down her soul. She froze. Her lips trembled. Her heart cracked. After all the love, after all the years, after all the meals she had lovingly cooked for him, all he could imagine was harm. In that moment, she knew it was over. Truly over. He noticed her silence, her sudden distance, and the next day regret washed over him like floodwater. He begged again, apologized again, explained again, but she didn't listen this time. Weeks passed, months drifted by. She didn't go back. She didn't know what she was doing, her heart battling loneliness and betrayal. She missed him. She wanted him. But the words he said, those careless, wounding words, kept ringing in her head, pulling her away every time she tried to return. The moment she finally chose to let go, the universe seemed to agree. Something shifted in her spirit. A small strength bloomed where pain had lived for so long. She left. Not loudly, not dramatically. Quietly. Softly. Painfully. She cried for days. Her home felt empty. Food lost its flavor. Cooking, something she once did with love, became a chore. Life felt gray, quiet, lonely, but peaceful. For the first time in years, she did not carry the guilt of loving a man who wasn't hers. She didn't feel the weight of secrecy or shame or fear. She prayed again, this time with sincerity and surrender. God, please forgive me, give me grace, and send me a man who was mine, my own man, not someone else's. And for the first time in 3 years, her heart finally rested. Healing does not happen in a day. Sometimes it begins with absence, with silence, with choosing yourself, even when your heart screams otherwise. For Gabrielle, leaving Melvin was the bravest and hardest decision she had ever made. But she made it, not out of hatred, not out of anger, but out of a desire for peace. Distance became their reality. Melvin was not happy, not one bit. He didn't argue, he didn't lash out, he didn't try to force her back. But the sadness showed. In the way he walked, in the flatness of his greetings, in the silence that replaced what used to be laughter, in the way his eyes followed her, quietly, thoughtfully, longingly. They still worked in the same company, still saw each other in corridors, still passed each other near the elevators, still shared the same meeting rooms. But now, everything felt different. He would look at her, that slow, lingering look that carried 3 years of memory, 3 years of closeness, 3 years of a love that should never have existed. Sometimes she caught him staring. Sometimes he looked away too fast. Sometimes his eyes softened, like he wanted to speak, but respect held his tongue. Gabrielle felt it all. The pull, the sadness, the longing. She missed him too, missed his warmth, his presence, the comfort his voice brought her, the peace of having someone who understood her without explanation. But her mind was made up. Her path was chosen. Her peace had taken root. She could not go back. Not after everything she fought to break free from. Not after God restored calm to her spirit. Not after learning the cost of loving a man who already belonged to someone else. One afternoon, after weeks of silence,
Gabby tried to reach out. Not for romance, not for emotion, but for friendship. A simple, clean friendship. One with no strings, no secrets, no guilt. "Melvin," she said softly, "I don't hate you. I never will. If you're okay with it, maybe we can still talk. Just as friends." She meant it. She wanted to keep at least a gentle connection, a respectful bond, something that honored the good parts of what they once shared. But Melvin, he shook his head. Not harshly, not angrily, just truthfully. "I can't, Gabby. I don't know how to be just your friend, so let me just be your colleague." His voice was calm, firm, but beneath it, a quiet sadness. He chose professionalism, walls where there used to be windows, distance where there used to be warmth. And she respected it. They settled into a new rhythm. Quiet, respectful, distant. They greeted each other politely in the hallway. They worked together when duty demanded it. They exchanged documents, shared work updates, nodded in meetings. Nothing more. No long conversations, no shared jokes, no soft looks that lingered, no messages, no calls, no fruits, no meals. Just professionalism. Clean, neutral, safe. But when their paths accidentally crossed, at the water dispenser, at the car park, at the staircase, the air shifted. Awkward, heavy, careful. Two people who knew each other too deeply, now acting like strangers who once shared a brief memory. Yet, despite all the awkwardness, they were okay. She had peace. He respected her decision. He carried his own quiet sadness, but he honored the boundaries. They protected each other in the only way left, by staying apart. Gabby grew, slowly, steadily. She cooked again, not as joyfully, not as passionately, but enough to feed herself with care. She smiled again, not widely, but sincerely. She prayed with a lighter heart, slept without guilt, woke up without dread. Healing was not perfect. Some days hurt, some memories lingered, some moments brought tears, but she was moving forward. And Melvin, in his own quiet way, moved too. Not away from her, but into acceptance. They were not enemies, not strangers, not lovers anymore. Just two human beings who once shared something too deep, too complicated, too forbidden, and who now respected the quiet truth that love is not always meant to stay. Gabby grew, slowly, steadily. She cooked again, not as joyfully, not as passionately, but enough to feed herself with care. She smiled again, not widely, but sincerely. She prayed with a lighter heart, slept without guilt, woke up without dread. Healing was not perfect. Some days hurt, some memories lingered, some moments brought tears, but she was moving forward. And Melvin, in his own quiet way, moved too. Not away from her, but into acceptance. They were not enemies, not strangers, not lovers anymore. Just two human beings who once shared something too deep, too complicated, too forbidden, and who now respected the quiet truth that love is not always meant to stay.